Yo, so Sparkle's getting her rerun in Honkai Star Rail really darn soon, and you know what that means. It's time to decide whether it's worth pulling for her on a rerun banner or not, and it's not so obvious all of the time whether we should be pulling for these characters in their reruns or not. I know what you guys are thinking, right? Sparkle, rerun banner, should you pull? Yes! 15-second video pancake. No. Okay, you guys said the exact same thing during my Fu Xuan rerun banner video, and I predicted in that video that we probably are going to be getting a really strong healer in the near future, and so you might not necessarily want to pull for Fu Xuan. And guess what? 2 weeks later, Ling Sha was revealed, okay? So read them and weep, okay? It's not always so obvious whether we should be pulling on a rerun banner or not because of what's coming in the future, dog. Look ahead. Look at the horizon, okay? There's more coming, all right? So sometimes saving your Jade is a good idea. And Sparkle is one of those situations where it's not necessarily so obvious once you actually read the room and think about what could be coming in the future. So I'm gonna be leaving timestamps below, so go ahead and skip ahead if you truly wanted to, but allow me to paint the picture of why support characters are so good, why she's so good, why some players might want to pull, and why some players might want to skip. So let's go ahead and get into this. As far as the meta is concerned right now for Honkai Star Rail, support characters are quite literally the best characters in the entire game right now. It's been that way since launch, and that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. And in the top 5 of like best support characters in the game, you got like your Ron Mei, Robin, Sparkle, you have Ting Yun, Pela, sometimes Silverwolf gets in the mix as well. You have these amazing characters at the top, and Sparkle, in many people's eyes, is somewhere around the top 3 for the game. That means that in many people's eyes, she has a ton of value. But as we've seen in this game, Honkai Star Rail releases twice as many 5-star characters per patch as a game like Genshin Impact. So, unfortunately, we see power creep a lot more often in this game than we do in a game such as Genshin Impact, for example. Genshin Impact doesn't really have a lot of power creep, really. We're starting to see some power scaling in that game right now, but Honkai Star Rail, we typically would see that practically every single patch, right? 1.6 was stellar because we ended up getting like the best follow-up like DPS in ratio, and we ended up getting literally the best support in the form of Ron Mei, and then it didn't stop there, right? Patch 2.0 was super hot fire, 2.1 super hot fire, 2.2 super hot fire, 2.3 super hot fire, 2.4 has finally been the first patch in quite some time that there wasn't some, oh my god, seemingly character like a must pull. There's no such thing as a must pull, but it's been as close to that for a long time as we could really get, right? This is the first time that we're able to take a little bit of a break because you don't necessarily need Yun Li if you have a really strong Clara, and you don't probably necessarily need a character like Jiaoqiu if you already have really strong characters that can support someone like Acheron. Now, some of us that have Acheron might still want to pull someone like Jiaoqiu, and there might be other implications for Jiaoqiu in the meta, but he's not necessarily like as must pull as a lot of these other characters were. So we don't really feel the pressure to pull during this patch. But those reruns seem pretty tempting right now, right? Huo has been the best healer for a long time. However, we are going to get a new healer next patch, right? And we're also going to be getting potentially some more Harmony characters or support characters in the future. But we don't know when that's going to be. So this rerun for Sparkle is a very interesting situation, and it's very hard to tell, do we really need to pull Sparkle during this rerun, or are we going to get something down the line? And I gotta be completely honest with you guys here, it is a bit tougher to know for sure what we might be getting in the near future for support characters, unlike when I did my Should You Pull Fu Xuan video and I predicted we'd be getting a healer soon, because we hadn't had a healer since Huo in patch 1.5, and now we're going to be getting a healer in the form of Ling Sha in patch 2.5, right? And we just had a whole bunch of support characters during the Penacony arc, and we even had Ron Mei in patch 1.6. So it seems kind of odd that we'd be getting a bunch more support characters in the near future. However, we're still going to speculate on this anyways. So let's put our detective caps on here, right? We're gonna be getting a healer in patch 2.5 in the form of Ling Sha. We recently got a preservation character in the form of Aventry not long ago, so it's unlikely that in, like, let's say patch 2.6, that we're going to be getting a sustainability unit, so no healer or tank likely coming for the 5-star slot, because those are the most rare characters to receive in this game. It's possible they change up the formula, but it's also kind of rather unlikely, right? So we're looking at maybe debuffers, like buffers, or maybe like DPS characters or sub-DPS characters. Those are the most likely things we're going to see. And Fei Xiao is going to be a main DPS character in 2.5, but we could end up getting some buffers or debuffers or like sub-DPSs, etc., etc. We're getting Jiaoqiu in patch 2.4 part 2, who's a sub-DPS character. So as much as I was kind of thinking we might not get a support character in patch 2.6 or 2.7, it's actually starting to seem likely we might. There's a really good shot that in either patch 2.6 or in 2.7, we might end up getting a really solid support character, because with the power scaling that has occurred in Honkai Star Rail as of recent, ever since Ron Mei, we haven't had a single bad support character come out, because support characters are so strong, and the 5-star slot has been sort of barren for a long time for the support slot. Let's think about this for a second. Ron Mei was literally the first 5-star premium support character in the game. And ever since then, every single one that's released, which is basically just Robin and Sparkle, they've all been super duper powerful, right? And so when you think about it, we've only had 3 5-star premium supports in the game. So it is actually seemingly possible that we're going to get something really strong in patch 2.6 or 2.7. However, full disclosure, I have no idea if that's actually going to happen, right? We have our predictions, there's rumors out there, you know what I mean? You can do some research of your own, but we don't 100% know definitively what will be coming in patch 2.6 or 2.7, which is why this Sparkle rerun actually seems like a really rare and important rerun, because we don't know for sure if we're going to be getting something like her in the near future. If you need a support character really badly, like you're new to the game or whatever, it's a no-brainer. Sparkle is definitely somebody that you gotta pull. But for people that already have really strong teams in this game and don't necessarily need Sparkle in order to clear the content, it's not something you necessarily have to do, which is why a video like this seems, in my opinion, really important to discuss, because on the surface level, it seems obvious. Just pull Sparkle. She's really good, right? But power creep does exist in this game. And if you guys end up pulling Sparkle in the rerun, and then we get somebody even better in patch 2.6 that's universal across all teams, someone kind of like Ron Mei or something, it's gonna feel really bad if you spend so much of your Jade pulling Sparkle and then end up getting something that's gonna replace her in patch 2.6. So I think we need to address this situation with the standpoint of what we already have on our own accounts, what characters we already have on our accounts. So if you're a Dan Heng in Bibitur Lune main, obviously you need to have Sparkle. She's like the best support for him, besides maybe someone like Ting Yun who can give him that energy boost so he can ultimate more often or whatever, right? And if you're somebody that has an E2 like Acheron, Sparkle is really good, because in E2 Acheron only needs one other Nihility character besides her in order to be able to fully gain all of her buffs from that trace that gives her more damage output based on the amount of Nihility characters you have on your team. And Sparkle is typically the best support character for an E2 Acheron besides that other Nihility slot, right? Which that other Nihility slot will also be somebody like Pela or Silverwolf, or now Jiaoqiu is going to be a really good insert here for that slot as well. But the other slot now doesn't have to be a Nihility character with an E2 Acheron, and Sparkle is typically the best one to put in that slot because you get all that crit damage, all that buffing, and then you get that action advance forward, allowing Acheron to build stacks for herself while dealing a shit ton of damage. So there are going to be situations where Sparkle is just such a good character that you can't pass up on right now, and she works so well on some of those teams. She's a little bit more niche than someone like Ron Mei, right? Ron Mei works on literally every single team out there, right? But Sparkle is a little bit more on the niche side, and so if you have a team that Sparkle can work on like that, then obviously I think this is kind of a no-brainer. Pull Sparkle, right? However, if you don't have a situation like that, or your account is already so strong and it doesn't really need somebody like Sparkle, I think this is gonna be a bit of a skip situation. Despite how strong she might be, I think it might be more valuable to your account to maybe skip Sparkle for a character coming out sometime in the future. Maybe you want to have another strong DPS and Fei Xiao is more up your alley, pull Fei Xiao, right? Maybe you want a really strong healer or somebody that can maybe replace your Huo or something like that. Then Ling Shao's up your alley. And don't be fooled, patch 2.6 is probably going to have some fire, right? These upcoming patches, just because they seem more like filler patches because Penacony already ended, that does not necessarily mean bad characters are going to start showing up. Honkai Star Rail is different than Genshin. These filler patches are going to be pretty hot, dude. Remember people said 1.6 was going to be ass? And then we got literally Dr. Ratio, the best follow-up attack DPS, at least for right now, and he still is. And then we also got Ron Mei, literally the best character in the entire game during what people are calling a filler patch. Okay, so there's definitely going to be some heaters coming up soon. And if you were a little bit lower on the Jade side, I would consider saving your Jade for somebody in the future. Or even if you have some Jade left over, you might want to pull a light cone for one of these characters that are coming up in the future that might be really strong, or maybe a ReRun character coming up in the future that you might want to get their light cone for to really increase the power level of that character if you really enjoy that character. If you've been around since 1.0, you don't necessarily have to pull some of the new characters that come out. You might have characters you already really like that are kind of like future-proof. And so you might want to make that character better, and maybe a light cone or an Eidolon might get that done for you. So I would consider doing something like that. So, should you pull Sparkle on her ReRun? Well, I think if you have an account or a team that could really use her and it would make a really big impact to that team, yeah, obviously pull Sparkle. You probably didn't even need this video for that whatsoever. But if you already have strong characters, a strong count, I would probably skip the ReRun, even if you don't have her, okay? Maybe if you already have her, her light cone might be a good pickup for you, but a lot of good characters are probably coming down the line, so I would probably save my Jade if I was you guys. If you've been around since 1.0, you don't really need Sparkle, okay? You can make do without her, all right? So hopefully this was helpful. If you like this kind of stuff, maybe consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.